I'm Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1.
Line drive to base hit. Just as the score the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Forbes Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie Jackson. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back and throw. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them away with the faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. Here's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having a
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Gets it back.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey! Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of the program. I am your host, Dan Scott. Good to have you with us on another kind of overcast, gray morning. That's the bad news, I guess. The good news is, if you believe the weather forecast, the rain is supposed to move out of here, and by the time Furman plays its first home game since November of last year, tomorrow here at Paladin Stadium, the chances of rain are only supposed to be about 15%. Supposed to be an 80-degree day at kickoff here inside Paladin Stadium at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Should be a great, great day to finally play some football on the turf below us here in the Pierce Horton Football Complex. How are you? I am Dan Scott. Good to have you with us. Hope your day is going well. If it's not, well, we'll try to give you a little bit of a boost. If it is, we'll try not to mess it up. How about that? And try, as is usually the case, starting here to learn something we did not know by the time the show is done. I sometimes let you guys in on things that in the grand scheme of things probably you don't need to know. Some of you may be curious about technically what's going on. But yesterday, during the middle of the show, apparently the platform that I use to stream this show to multiple locations, I stream it live on my Facebook page, to Twitter via Periscope, and of course to YouTube, which makes it live on thedanscottshow.com, which eventually where it's all going to go, by the way. But apparently during the middle of the show yesterday, Restream, which is the name of the platform that I use, made a switch. And again, this has nothing to do with anything. It's just something that kind of baffled me a little bit until I finally figured it out this morning. But to get it on Facebook, it was in the past, it's been what they call a custom platform. In other words, you had to pay for it, and you had to go through a series of steps and putting in a stream key or for lack of a better word, a different password every day to get it to stream. Well, in the middle of the show yesterday, that custom stream went away, but it was still live on my page. Well, as it turns out, the reason is now they've made it part of their basic package. So I'm trying to get it to connect the old way today, and it wouldn't do it. And I put it up on Facebook. Hey, I can't get it to connect. Go to the show page, the website, thedanscottshow.com. And lo and behold, when I go back and reconnect Facebook, thinking maybe that was the problem, it's now just a regular part of their basic service, which is nice to know since I just paid $100 and some a couple of weeks ago for another year of a custom platform. But what that'll do maybe is let me go through some of their other custom platform availabilities, and maybe we can expand this even further. Bottom line, the show is up and running on all of our platforms, and we are very glad to have you with us no matter where you are watching. It's a little more challenging for me in this setting to interact a bit with the comments, but we'll get that figured out as well. On the show today, a couple of guests via phone. Scott Keeler could not be in studio with us, but he'll be here via phone at 10:25, and we will talk prep football for the week and also his thoughts on Furman and Western Carolina tomorrow. And then at 10:45 in the final segment, something we're hoping to do every week during football season is spend some time with Gene Henley of the Chattanooga Times Free Press, who does a SoCon notebook each and every week, and get his thoughts on some of the things going on around the Southern Conference. Pardon me. Before we get there, though, in the next segment we'll do, I'm going to I almost shed a tear. I really did, because we saw yesterday in the New York Yankees Tampa Bay Rays game a little bit of old-time baseball break out. And I'm actually going to let you see, it's about a 5.5-minute clip of everything that transpired in Tampa yesterday, which is pretty cool. And it's a scenario that involves CC Sabathia and how he willingly gave up $500,000. and we'll set that up a little bit more going on. Right at the top of the show, though, yesterday I was on my platform for what's good in your life. What's going on in your world right now that's good, because we've got so much negativity and so much tragedy and so much everything else around us. I'm not going to use the word minutia again today. I very rarely use big words like that 3 days in a row. But there's so much going on around us. So I was trying to, knowing that we would not get a lot of feedback here, because that's just the way it is when you try to get into what some people consider a touchy-feely type of situation or topic. I hope that some of you took some stock and wrote down some of the things that you've been blessed with, and kind of put maybe in perspective that against whatever it is you're going through. We all have troubles. We all have things that come up in our lives, and some of it serious and some of it devastating. But I think, if not all of us, most of us can make a list that shows, man, God has been really good to me in the past, and he's going to be really good to me again in the future, and he's going to get me through this if I allow him to. So I was on that soapbox yesterday, and I bring it up again today because of the tragic story out of LSU. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but the young man whose picture I'm putting up on the screen now, Wade Sims, was shot and killed yesterday outside of or near the campus of Southern University. He's an LSU basketball player, plays for a friend of mine, Will Wade, who 2 years ago was coaching in the Southern Conference and now is coaching at a Power 5 school in the SEC, with a 1-year stop at Virginia Commonwealth in between. But this kid, Wade Sims, was just 20 years old, was a Louisiana Gatorade Player of the Year following his junior season at University High School in Baton Rouge. And his father, Wayne Sims, also played at LSU and was a teammate of Shaquille O'Neal. No, at least what I've seen so far, no real details have been released, and no arrests have been made as of yet. But there he is with Will Wade, and just a terrible, terrible set of circumstances at LSU. So our thoughts and our prayers obviously going out with them. And I tie the two together, folks, because you just never know. That's why I was so adamant yesterday about what's good in your life, and closed the show yesterday by saying make a positive difference in someone's life. You wonder what the last words somebody in this young man's family spoke to him were. One of his friends spoke to him were. And if they said something loving, if they said something, if the last thing they ever said to them might have been something hateful because they were in an argument, you just don't know. You never know what's going to happen. It behooves you to make sure that your relationship is right with the Lord, and it also reminds us that we are not guaranteed anything beyond really this moment. And if you have an opportunity to make a positive difference in somebody's life, and I'm preaching to myself more than I'm preaching to anybody else, do so. I sent Will a text message a little earlier today, just telling him how my heart breaks for the young man's family and for his teammates and friends and the entire LSU family. And for Will Wade, a young head coach who I first met when he was a grad assistant for Oliver Purnell at Clemson years ago. I mean, this guy is still a young head basketball coach. And I can promise you, unless there's a story that I've missed somewhere, everything that he has learned to this point, none of it prepared him for what he's dealing with right now at the helm of the LSU program. His teammates, the school, everyone are just absolutely decimated, and he's going to be a guy, young or not, that they look to for guidance and leadership and clarity and comfort and strength in this situation. So I sent him a text this morning telling him I was praying for him. Sent him Philippians 4:7. Some of you want to go look that up. It's a very familiar verse of Scripture. And just let him know that there were people up here thinking about him. And just a tragic, tragic story out of LSU. Wade Sims shot and killed last night. 20 years old. His life snuffed out. Just a sad, sad set of circumstances. We need to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to show you that 5.5-minute section of video that's a combination of the Yes Network and the Tampa Bay TV network on what happened between the Yanks and the Rays yesterday and why I have a lot of respect for CC Sabathia. We'll set that up, talk about it when we come back. But the show, as always, is presented each and every day by Carolina Creative. Not just simple, simply brilliant. And here's a familiar voice to tell you more about them. Hey, everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show.
If you're looking for the perfect frame for that special photo or painting, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca can deliver for you. Family owned for nearly 4 decades, Trevor and the folks at Custom Corners Frame Shop pride themselves on quality, presentation, and professionalism. They offer picture framing for every budget, and every job is custom. Custom Corners Frame Shop also sells work from local artists as well as locally themed gifts. For more information, visit them at 289 Market Street in Seneca. Call 864-882-7736 or find them on Facebook, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca.
Imagine a university. A university where your passion for protecting local water sources is encouraged. And now, your work not only benefits your career, but the health of those in your community and around the world. This is Furman. This is the Furman Advantage.
Dan Scott here for the Atlanta Bread Company. What do I like about Atlanta Bread? Well, too much to mention in a short commercial, but here are a few things. Bread baked daily fresh on site, a tremendous selection of soup, sandwiches, and salads, seasonal special additions to the menu, delicious hot coffee, and a bevy of other drink options. And yeah, can't forget about the baked sweet goodies. Dine in or carry out, and when you have the Atlanta Bread Company app, you can order and pay online, then breeze past the lines to the pickup counter to get your food. Experience it for yourself. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
When you go in search of a fence company, what's your criteria? Experience? Trust? A company that gets it right the first time and stands behind its work? Then your search is over. Faulkner Fence has been Greenville's fence company for more than 40 years. Ed Faulkner started the business, and now son Todd continues the tradition of excellence. So regardless of your fencing needs, commercial, industrial, or residential, trust the company that Greenville has trusted for over 4 decades. Faulkner Fence, 864-271-4626, or online at FaulknerFenceCompany.com.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. It is Friday, last day of the work week for some, for others, not so much. But can still look forward to the weekend regardless. I'll be here for a long stretch of the day tomorrow. I really don't consider what I do on Saturdays work, though. I get paid to do it. We all have frustrating times in our lives, and even as much as I love this job, it like any other job, has its frustrating moments. But one thing in these many years, 33 years and counting in this business now, I try to remind myself at the moments that I get the most frustrated, at the end of the day, I get paid to watch a ball game. And folks, that ain't bad. That ain't bad. May not get paid much, but it ain't bad. And as the kids used to say, I don't know how much they say it anymore, but I can dig it. I want to show you this. This is pretty cool, and I jokingly said I almost shed a tear because it's a throwback to old-time baseball. You just don't see this much anymore. Pitchers are not so willing to throw inside, but there are moments when you have to defend your teammates. And yesterday, CC Sabathia, in what may have been his last regular season start for the New York Yankees, needed to pitch 7 innings to reach a clause in his contract that would have triggered a $500,000 bonus. He had an innings clause. He was 7 innings away when the day started. Through the first 5 innings, he'd only thrown, I think, 55 pitches. I mean, he's well on his way. But protecting your teammates is more important than $500,000, at least to some guys. Watch this. This is about 5.5 minutes long. There's no music with it. It's a compilation of all the events yesterday. And then we'll take a couple of minutes to discuss on the other side. Scott Keeler, we may be a little bit late getting to you, but it's baseball. I know you understand. Here is what transpired yesterday in Tampa. Check this out.
Here's Bowers. Ooh, that pitch got him on the hand, and he's headed to first. So the Rays pick up their second base runner. Take a look at this. He off the right hand. And Austin Romine will lead off the 6th. And this one behind Romine, and down he goes. Romine gets up with a look toward the mound, and Sucre intervening, and so's Vic Carapazza, who now Carapazza issuing a warning, and you saw Sabathia popping out.
And he gets low bridged, and he's taking a look at Kittredge. You wonder if that was retribution for hitting Bowers.
You can read lips. Austin Romine asking why.
And Sabathia came out of the dugout and was kind of intercepted by Boone. Sabathia didn't like that at all.
This is just too much of a targeted look from Kittredge. Four-seam fastball directly at him. You know, when a ball gets away from a pitcher, it's usually a two-seamer that moves, and this one is planted. Here is CC's two-seamer that just grazed the knuckles of Bowers, who almost kind of turned into it a bit. No intention there at all. And if this is indeed the answer, I could see why the Yankees would be upset. It's uncalled for. Sabathia, you can clearly see what he thought.
Sucre leads off. And he hits him. And now CC just lost himself $500,000 as he's thrown out of the game. That was the perfect guy to throw out. Sucre, the catcher, after they threw at Romine. And that's why CC's teammates love him, David.
CC don't play.
So the Yankees, now the first pitch, and Sucre is hit, and Sabathia has been ejected, and he motions to the Rays dugout as he leaves. So Sabathia came right out and hit Sucre, and Sabathia ejected.
Now, the reason I said it cost him $500,000, not about a fine. If he pitched 7 innings today, he would have reached an innings plateau that would have given him a $50,000 bonus, and he was well on his way to doing that. He'd thrown just 55 pitches, coasting, and $500,000, not 50. He's got 55 pitches on the day, but he felt, hey, it was more important to send a message after they threw behind the head of Romine. He was going to plunk their catcher, and he did. And he gets thrown out of the game. So he backs up his teammates at a very costly personal price. And if you asked him, David, he didn't care.
Could care less. And you said it well, Michael. That's CC Sabathia in a nutshell right here. And what is potentially the last game he may pitch for the Yankees. He wants to pitch another year. The Yankees have him lined up to start Game 4 in the postseason, but the future's uncertain.
I was still fuming just from the fact that Kittredge threw one over our catcher's head. So that's where my frustration lies, and just glad that no one was hurt. Yeah, I think there's no question there was intent, and you know, if you've had some guys hit this series, and then you're gonna throw, and you throw one over the head, then I think just kick rocks. I hated it.
You know, I think it was probably a bunch of people protecting teammates more than anything. There's not a ton to say. It looked like, you know, there was some intent there, but that's not for me to decide.
Just baseball, you know, don't really have a comment. I'm just trying to do my job, and today, obviously, I didn't do a very good job of it. Obviously, that was a high and tight pitch. I mean, that's not a comfortable feeling for him, and it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I think we all took exception to that. You know, I think anytime, you know, your players, you know, you feel like your players' safety is in jeopardy, you know, I think all guys take exception to that. So, you know, we all did. You know, it is what it is. They did what they did, and whatever happened after that.
CC has the most respect from every guy in this clubhouse to begin with. You know, he's a competitor. He's one of our leaders, and, you know, we love when he's on the mound.
All right, so there you go. That is a bit of old school baseball. And I jokingly said I almost shed a tear, but look, CC Sabathia has made a ton of money in this game. If he's taken care of it, he's got a bank account with millions of dollars in it. And so on that, from that standpoint, you know, maybe $500,000 doesn't mean as much to him as it would mean to somebody like you or somebody like me. But still, $500,000 is a good chunk of change, and for a guy at his age, at the end of his career, to reach an innings qualifier like that, there's some personal pride there. But he set all of that aside to protect the teammate. And I'm just trying to think of the last time that somebody did something like that. Now, you know, retiring when you have a contract is one thing, but I'm talking about a deliberate act, knowing it's going to cost you that kind of money to protect your teammates and basically draw a line in the sand in a confrontation like that. That was pretty cool. I don't like to see guys, you know, throwing in other guys' heads. That pitch that was up and in to Austin Romine was way too uncomfortable. But you have to pitch inside, and sometimes you have to do things to protect your teammates, and that's the other thing about CC Sabathia. You know, the pitch from Kittredge that almost took Romine's head off. Well, Sabathia, in a sense, would have been justified by going out and throwing the first pitch at the head of the Rays catcher who was leading off, but he didn't. He threw it down around his hip. Got the message across, gave away his $500,000, and walked off the mound. He knew exactly what he was doing. I'm sure he told Aaron Boone in the dugout and get somebody warmed up because here we go. And wasn't it interesting that there was no fight, no rushing the field. Players did come out and mill around on their own in front of their own dugout. But I think everybody on both sides knew what was going on there. I just thought it was a pretty cool baseball moment. For a baseball fan, somebody who truly loves and claims to understand the game, I thought that was pretty cool. Claims to understand the game. All right, we'll take a break, come back. Scott Keeler will join us on the other side as the Dan Scott Show on a Friday continues in just a moment.
For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant more life-changing wishes. Visit Make-A-Wish online now. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville is the Greenville Steakhouse. Why? Well, it starts with the Allen Brothers Prime Steaks out of Chicago. The rest of the menu falls into place there. But it really goes beyond that. It's their level of service, their commitment to that service. The place is packed every night, and yet Billy and his staff have a way of making you and your table feel like you're the most important table in the place. They have lunch on Fridays and Saturdays, brunch on Sundays, live music every time the doors are open. The Greenville Steakhouse is Hall's Chop House, Main Street, downtown. Tell them you heard about them on the Dan Scott Show.
Mayhem is everywhere.
I'm a fight in the stadium parking lot. One of us was rooting for the home team. The other was also rooting for the home team, but misheard the first one. Them's fighting words. Now we're working this out all over your car. And this could last a while because we're evenly matched. We're both big. We're both better at punching stuff than doing puzzles. We both think Italy's in South America. We both peaked somewhere between 8th grade and the second time we took 8th grade. Oh, and while you were gone, we've both been rammed repeatedly by the other into your car. Our already scarred faces will heal, but if you've got cut rate insurance, you could be living with these dents. So get Allstate, where agents help keep you protected from mayhem. Like me.
Are you in good hands?
In Easley, it's Ray Williams, Allstate, 864-859-7504.
Looking for a great car, but your credit needs work? Premier Automotivations is a professional referral service motivated to help you drive a car you love while rebuilding your credit. Late model cars of all kinds. Premier Automotivations can get you on the road and your credit on the road to recovery today. Serving all of upstate South Carolina, it's Premier Automotivations. Call Sherry today at 864-722-3785 or email cricketgravely@gmail.com.
Go the Distance Performance Coaching offers individualized coaching for distance runners of all ability levels, beginner to seasoned runner, and exists to help you achieve your running goals. All training plans are custom built, tailor-made just for you based on your experience, current fitness level, injury history, and goals. You're going to receive expert coaching from Hall of Fame runner Brock Bailey, and Coach Brock is ready to help you go the distance. You can find out everything you need to know about Go the Distance Performance Coaching and Brock Bailey at the website gocoach.run. Gocoach.run. That's Go the Distance Performance Coaching. Welcome back to the show as we continue live here on this Friday edition of the program. 10:45-ish. Gene Henley from the Chattanooga Times Free Press is going to join us, and he's going to help us traverse some of the news and notes and things going on around the Southern Conference. But right now we want to head to the celebrity guest line proper and bring in our buddy Scott Keeler, normally in studio with us on Fridays, but had to do it via the guest line today. Talk a little prep football, talk a little Furman football, but I think I kind of got him a little bit fired up with that CC Sabathia thing. Man, what's going on, Scott?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in there an interesting quote from Carlos Gomez of the Rays. He said, I have a lot of respect for CC, and if he feels he should need to hit somebody, and he did it. I have more respect because he protects his players. That's how the game's supposed to be played. You protect your guys. So it just kind of goes back to what you say. Nobody, no threat of a fight there. It's just people understood how it's supposed to be played and move on.
Yeah, and that might have been the most remarkable thing about it is the fact, you're talking about two division rivals, and there was no charging the mound. There was very little in the way of any kind of talking or yapping. I mean, Sabathia made it clear what his intentions were after he hit the Rays catcher and looked into Tampa Bay's dugout, and he did say a thing or two, but I was impressed by the entire thing, because here is what baseball used to be a long time ago. Guys knew when they came up to the plate, if certain things had happened, that they were going to be a target. They took it and they went on. And for a guy to walk away from $500,000 like he did, you know what? I hope the Yankees give it to him anyway.
Yeah, they probably will.
Yeah, I think George Steinbrenner would. Whether his son does or not, who knows? But anyway, so let's talk some high school football. How did last week turn out for you?
It was kind of an interesting week. Spartanburg came into Hillcrest struggling. A team that they ended their season last year. Hillcrest beat them for the first time in the playoffs to end their season rather handily last year. And like I said, Spartanburg had come in struggling. Hillcrest had come off a very close loss to Dorman. And Spartanburg just pretty much shut Hillcrest down in a 24-7 win. It's tied 7-7 at the half, and the only points Hillcrest got were off after a Spartanburg turnover. So big win for them last week, and giving them momentum going to Dorman tonight for their big rivalry game. So
that's one obviously we're going to talk about tonight then, right?
Well, yeah, that's probably I don't have much more to add to it except the Dorman, is very, very good. Like I said, they come in undefeated. They had a pretty easy victory last week to stay that way, and always a big rival though when Dorman and Spartanburg hook up.
Okay, so forgive me, we just have talked about one of the games this week.
I'm just trying to squeeze all my stuff in.
Yeah, I got
to make way for Gene.
Don't worry about it. I'm not constrained by time here like I used to be. What sure. What else? Any other takeaways from last week?
Not off the top of my head. It was kind of one of those weeks where a lot of people that play week 0, our favorite goofy term, took their week off last week.
Okay.
So, including a couple of teams we're about to talk about next, in Greer and Greenville. They both had bye weeks last week, going into their huge matchup tonight. Greer comes in undefeated. They're ranked third, I believe, if I recall correctly. Greenville's 9th in 4A. Greenville's up 3-0, and like I said, they were off last week. 2 weeks ago, they played BHP. I believe that was a BHP. I might be mistaken on the location. But Belton Henley Path scores very late in the fourth quarter, maybe like 30 seconds left. BHP goes for 2 and gets the 1-point win. 2 weeks ago, Greenville traveled to South Point. They score a late touchdown to trail by 1 with, I think that might have been the last play of the game. I'm pretty sure it was the last play of the game. Greenville goes for 2 and doesn't make it and loses by 1.
Mm-hmm.
So they've lost to 2 powerful, 2 of the most respected programs in the state, in BHP and South Point, by a point apiece. And now they face Greer at home tonight over at Serene Stadium. Should be quite a matchup. Greer won in the regular season last year between these teams by about 8, and then had a pretty lopsided win against Greenville in the third round of the playoffs to reach the Upper State Championship last year. So should be a good one tonight at Serene.
Always enjoyed going to Serene Stadium when we were broadcasting high school football back in the first decade of the 2000s. Hard to believe you can even say that phrase, in the first decade of the 2000s. But
right.
Always enjoyed going over there, and that's a great. Of course, for old timers, it's the former home of the Furman Paladins. But
right.
Any of it. What else you got going on?
Another intriguing kind of game this week is Hannah at Greenwood. Greenwood, I probably mentioned previously in your show, I covered them once this year. They lost to Gaffney, and they had negative 82 yards of offense.
Right.
Well, they're 4-1, so they're still doing something right when they're not facing Gaffney. This has a lot of interesting tie-ins because last year Hannah beat Greenwood 42-7 in the regular season. And then in the second round of the playoffs, Greenwood goes to Hannah and wins to hand Hannah their only loss of the year. So Hannah might have had this one circled for a while. Hannah comes in undefeated. And like I said, so the only loss they've had in the past 16, 17 games was to Greenwood in the playoffs last year at home. So that ought to be interesting. And who would have thunk it? Kind of a big game to be mentioned on your show from however long we've been doing this now. Eastside at Travelers Rest. The Devil Dogs. That might be the first time I've ever mentioned them in this segment. They are 5-0 for the first time in 51 years, and they host Eastside, who took their first loss last week against a very loaded Chapman team. So this is going to be kind of a TR's 5-0, but they haven't really faced Eastside. And the next 3 weeks for TR is Eastside, Greer, and Greenville. So we're going to see what the Devil Dogs are made of here next 3 weeks.
It's kind of funny that you bring that up, because last night was the Clay Hendricks show at Shortfields in downtown Travelers Rest, and I always get there an hour or more before the show starts to get set up and everything. And Rex Brown, Andrew Brown's dad, messaged me on Facebook and said, "Hey, Travelers Rest High School's homecoming parade is tonight. They're going to eventually shut down 276 right through the middle of downtown. So people coming to the show are going to have to come another direction." Well, I got there before they shut it down. Clay Hendricks did not. But as Clay told us on the show last night, he had done years ago his student teaching at the old Travelers Rest High School.
Yes. Yeah.
So he knew some of the wiles and back roads and everything else. So the frantic text messages I was sending him about alternate routes to get in were unnecessary. As always, the coach was prepared or able to adjust on the fly.
There you go.
So yeah, East Side and TR. I don't know that we have said those two teams individually very much less ever in the same sentence as being a potential big game. So that's good stuff.
That's true.
Yeah. The only disappointing thing about yesterday was I told Clay that he probably should have just made himself the grand marshal of the parade and rode in on one of the floats and then got off in front of Shortfields. But
there you go.
I don't know if he was too amused with that or not. Anything else high school wise?
I think that pretty much wraps it up. We're just kind of moving along here as people get back from the madness of the hurricane and having stuff moved around, and so.
Well, like the most of the rest of us here, or a lot of us anyway, you'll be at Powellton Stadium tomorrow. Do you know how to get here? Number one.
I think I can go back and find some old MapQuest printed maps and figure out the way. Yes, sir.
What was your takeaway from last week and your quick forecast for this week?
There's a lot of things, and I'm going to try to put these into words at some point here today. There's a lot of things you can look at last week, with the safety, the taking the knee on the kick return, and there's a lot of equal blame to go around. The bottom line is that Furman was up 27-6 over a team that's had its way with the last 2 years and just couldn't run the ball between the tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's four sophomores on the offensive line and going through the growing pains. I think we focused so much on losing P.J. Blazkowski, maybe we didn't focus enough on overcoming the loss of Matt Schmidt and Terrell Bush. But that's obviously the most frustrating thing from a Furman's perspective. I know it's the most frustrating thing for Coach Hendricks because, as he told me last week, we just can't line up and do what we want to do. And, that was able to do that to an extent last year.
Yeah.
Especially over a team, no disrespect intended, but a team like ETSU, when you get up that much, even if they bring in their quarterback who has torched Furman for 2 years in a row now, you still expect Furman to be able to run the ball enough effectively to just wear them down and take care of business. But that obviously didn't happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow with Western coming in. I know VMI's improved from last year. They really had nowhere to go but up. But, Western beats VMI 52-50 as they hang on. Last week as VMI dropped a 2-point conversion, I believe, that would have sent the game into overtime. But you'd expect the offense for Furman to get, cracking a little bit more, maybe make a little bit more of a bigger impact than they did last week, and just try to grow some confidence. I
Yeah,
think that still remains the number one word.
Yeah, the thing to me that is going to be interesting to see, we talked about Harris Roberts being the fifth-year senior and bringing some stability to this team, and all that's true. But also true is that in now his fifth season, last week was really the first meaningful snaps that he's taken in a game in his entire career. And so I would expect that he'll be a little more comfortable and make fewer mistakes than he did. I mean, I thought he played okay, but
Sure.
I think he will play much better here tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. I think so as well. And, he made pretty much an impact there in the opening drive last week. Opening drive the second half did the same thing. And it's almost like a thing where he's considered the passing quarterback. Well, he had some pretty nice runs last week as well, and nice reads on those runs. Like I said, running to the outside in the option game was pretty effective last week. It was between the tackles that was the issue. So,
Which is kind of odd because the previous game you're able to run it right at a stout defensive front for Elon and could not run outside.
Right.
So go figure. All right, Scott, quickly tell people how they can catch up with everything you're doing.
FurmanSportsReport.com, and follow me on Twitter at Scott_Keeler, Keeler, and catch me in the Spartanburg Herald every Saturday with the high school report.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, that is Scott Keeler. Stay tuned. When we come back, close out the program with Gene Henley from the Chattanooga Times Free Press. All that on the other side. Stay with us. When you're looking for the home of a lifetime, you need a realtor you can trust. With more than 27 years experience selling real estate, Gel Sartain is the choice to help the discriminating buyer find the home of their dreams. Licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia, Gel specializes in homes on beautiful lakes Hartwell and Kiwi, as well as the surrounding areas, and has a wealth of experience working with people with technical backgrounds. Now is the time to buy, sell, and invest in real estate in the Clemson-Seneca area. Let Gail help you realize that dream today. Call her at 404-317-3171. That's Gail Sartain, a member of the National Association of Realtors.
We're all trying to find our way, forge a path, blaze a trail. The work is hard, and the work is personal. But you can't do it alone. At Furman, we're committed to giving you an advantage, the Furman Advantage. We know that graduates who are emotionally supported and who have deep learning experiences in college are 3 times as likely to be engaged at work and thriving in life. At Furman, all students are guaranteed 4 years of rigorous classroom education integrated with high-impact research, internships, study away, and a community of support every step of the way. This is the Furman Advantage.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott. I've been telling you for some time now that I switched the protection of my home and family to Security Complete. I can tell you that I've been ecstatic with the results. Locally owned with more than 40 years experience in the industry, Security Complete uses nothing but the latest technology, which equals low overhead, which equals greater savings to the customer. Fully automated systems with monitoring rates much lower than the competition. Security Complete gives you all this and does not require a contract of any length. Find out more by calling 864-546-0630 or find them on Facebook and Twitter. Security Complete, my first line of defense. Make them yours today.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2650 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show. .49 and down the stretch we come. Final segment of the show, final segment of the week. And we are getting closer and closer to actually having a home football game here at Paladin Stadium tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock as Furman and Western Carolina get together. We're going to go right back to the celebrity guest line and welcome back for the second time and what we hope is going to be a weekly segment moving forward. Now, Gene Henley, the very fine reporter for the Chattanooga Times Free Press, covers the Mocs and the SoCon for that publication, and is joining us here to kind of help us digest some of the things going on inside this conference. Gene, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. How about you?
Good. It's good to have you back with us here. Right off the top, before we get into other things that are going on around the league, right there in your backyard, there's a pretty good story brewing with the Chattanooga Mocs. Are you there? Did we lose you?
Oh, yeah, I'm here now. Sorry, I was jumping on my Bluetooth, so I lost you for a second.
I said right there in your backyard, there's a pretty good story that's brewing with the Chattanooga Mocs.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I've told people last year when they asked, I was asked about the expectations, and I was honest in saying that I could see them going anywhere between 4-7 and 10-1, and obviously they finished a little worse than that, although they were about middle of the pack in the league. And so going into this year, I didn't know what to expect. So I'm always one who errs on the side of caution, and I would watch practices, and I would see that they were obviously pretty talented, but I didn't know how that would translate into game day. But I mean, the team they're 4-0. That's, I think, the best thing you can say about them right now. They've beat everybody in front of them, and it looks as though they might actually have, if they get the win tomorrow, they'll have an undefeated September, and they'll be in a really good spot. So, I mean, I think that's the best thing you can say about them is that they're undefeated and they beat everybody in front of them, but they're flawed. They realize that, and they're working to, I guess, probably correct some of those mistakes that they've had going on.
Well, we're still at a point in the season where a lot of teams are trying to find themselves, Furman being one of them, as the 0-3 record would play out. But I think it's also fair to point out that this was a team a year ago that suffered through a lot of injuries, suffered through some suspensions, and there were some other things going on in a transition year to a new head coach. It looks like, if nothing else, Gene, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but it looks like, if nothing else, one of the big things has been simply some stability.
Yeah, and it's nice to, I talk with Nick Giano about once every week, because obviously he's one of the, the better stories of the league, considering how bad he looked last year. And, and it's amazing. I told him one day, I said, it's interesting to see. I said, it must be, amazing for you to be able to, to play quarterback on your feet, because he spent so much time on his back last year. And, he kind of laughs about it. And it's just, he's got a level of confidence in him. And I think that's what's kind of led to everything else around him, because there was a ton of quarterback instability last year. I mean, 48 hours for the first game, they find out that Alejandro, who was going to be the starter, was suspended. Nick, my personal opinion was Nick was probably the third best quarterback coming out of preseason camp last year, behind Alejandro and Cole Copeland. But they liked Cole so much they wanted to redshirt him. And when Nick got hurt 4 games in, you didn't have a choice but to use him.
Right.
So it really came to a point where you didn't get a good chance to get a feel for Nick, but he's so much more comfortable in that system. That's led to a lot of the consistency. There's still a little injury. I mean, there's still a little injury, they're kind of beaten down a little bit, but that's, expected a month into the season,
right,
especially after you've played Citadel. But I mean, the fact that they don't have any of those,
crippling injuries, pardon the pun, it has really helped this
workers navigate their way through this league.
So who would have thought then that looking at this week that the biggest game in the state of Tennessee might be taking place between Chattanooga and ETSU?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't know. I already don't have a clue what to think of UTC, but I definitely don't have a clue what to think about ETSU. It's weird because you see the 3-1, and then you question who have they beaten, and the answer is every FBS program they've played. Now I know that's a D2, VMI, and a Furman team that always seems to that started slow in both years under Clay Hendricks, but I don't have a good feel for them, and but I do know that they're packing this game out. They've put together this rail thing that I don't even think UTC knew about to really try to blow up this rivalry, and they're doing everything to really pump this game up, and I think it could be a good game. I guess time will tell, but it should be a good game because in theory these two teams are rivals, and it should be a good contest, especially with it being up there.
Any feel for what Randy Sanders is going to do with the quarterback spot? Because as we saw firsthand, he pulled Logan Marchie in the third quarter late, and Austin Herrick came off the bench and just went nuts against Furman and leading that comeback win. In your notes package earlier this week that you wrote for the paper, there was still no decision that had been made. Any feel for which way that he may lean at game time tomorrow night?
I'd be stunned if it was anybody other than Austin Herrick. I think that the feel I get is that that's what the team wants. When they basically started that program from scratch, and so all those guys have been together for a core of those guys have been together for 4 years.
Right.
And so the guy who went through all the wars and the battles with them was benched for a guy who just came in from Temple. So you question that, and I don't want to necessarily say you don't lose the locker room when you're 2-1 and have a road win in the SoCon. But, I think the feeling is at this point, if you don't start him, you have to question whether or not you're going to lose that locker room, because all those guys who went through the battles, who went through the bad seasons, who were trying to work the way on the come up with this program, you pretty much just kicked their leader to the curb and just said, hey, just be ready just in case.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm slightly partial to Austin because he's from Cleveland, Tennessee, which is my hometown, and I know him personally, and I like the kid. So I would be stunned, and actually I'd almost be a little disappointed, because I think it would take some of the air out of the game and the crowd if Austin was not the starter.
Yeah,
Statistically, I've looked and the other kid has not had the best of years. I mean, it's not like he's killing it, and I think he's like 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and I could be obviously wrong there, but I know he has more picks than touchdowns, and that's not going to get it done, especially when you feel like you have a team that can compete. Like you see head coaches making quarterback changes all around the country. If it can happen in Alabama and Clemson, because you need to make a decision to make your team better, it sure should definitely take place in Johnson City in the Southern Conference, because this team could be pretty good, and they need a guy that can lead them.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool moment, even from an opponent's point of view. The few people who were left after the long delay at halftime because of lightning, when he came out off the bench after Furman had scored to go up 27-6 late in the third quarter. He got a standing ovation from fans that were there for ETSU, and then, of course, we know what happened. So it was a pretty cool moment, even from an opposing broadcaster's point of view. Gene Henley from the Chattanooga Times Free Press joining us here as we go around the Southern Conference. Another team making, I guess, technically a second quarterback switch is Mercer, but this one's because of an injury.
Yeah, and, the Riddle kid is from Chattanooga. Actually, both these quarterbacks have ties to the Chattanooga area because they're both within the Chattanooga Times Free Press coverage area.
Mm-hmm.
And, Riddle comes in, and that situation was a little bit different because it wasn't necessarily that Riley wasn't playing well. He just, it just may appear, statistically that he was having maybe some of those sophomore struggles. And then Riddle comes in and he's throwing the ball downfield, and obviously he leads them to the big win over Stanford. And so, his situation is completely unfortunate because I would have been intrigued to see what that team was had he remained the starter, because it seemed like those guys really rallied around him and really loved the fact that he's willing to throw the ball downfield and make some plays. And so I'll be interested to see just what happens with that team, because it's not like Raleigh is chopped liver. I mean, heck, he was league freshman of the year last year. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he's a bad player. So I'm going to be intrigued to see where this team goes with that, because they had a little breath of fresh air and maybe had the biggest win in their program's history a week earlier, and then they lose him with like 20 seconds to go in the game, and then next thing you know they lose the game in dramatic fashion. So I'll be intrigued to see. I mean, I know that obviously it's not like ETSU where you're kind of forcing a situation, forcing a change. You're in a case now where if you're Mercer, you have to make it because of the injury. But I mean, you have to feel good about the guy you've got coming in Kalen Raleigh.
Real quick, what is Riddle's injury and how long are they expecting him to be out?
From what I've heard, it's a broken collarbone, and so I don't know what the timetable is. I think Bobby Lamb said it was going. He just simply said a while, but those typically take a while. That was kind of the nature of. I don't know if necessarily that was Nick Ciano's injury last year. I never got confirmation on it. But, when he got hurt against Western Carolina, it was a shoulder injury, and he never played again. I mean, he came back late in the season, but at that point, Copeland had the team rolling pretty well, so they stuck with Copeland. But I'd say you're probably looking at maybe at 6 weeks at the best, which gets you into November. And at that point, you kind of know what you are. So I'd say you may not see him again until 2020, which actually could be a blessing because they could get a 6-year of eligibility for him, which, as good as he's shown he is, could be a blessing in disguise for that program.
Gene, real quick, as we get set to wrap it up, just what are some of the storylines beyond those that you're following this week as we get ready to get another weekend of Southern Conference football?
Well, obviously from a UTC perspective, they are now the biggest fans of the Citadel and UT Martin in the country because of their road wins at those particular places. As they start to try to work their way into maybe what is the playoff picture, because the Citadel is a good program, and I think their win, UTC's win on the road up there was big. And if Citadel goes on the road and beats Townsend this week, then that's a top 25 win, and it actually makes UTC's win in Charleston look that much better. Mm-hmm. I think. I think the West. Furman's got Western Carolina, and you've got an undefeated team versus a winless team, and I'm actually going to be a little more surprised if the winless team is still winless after Saturday, because I think Furman has a way of figuring these things out. It takes a few games, but I think they have a way of figuring it out. I mean, obviously trying to overcome the losses of PJ, and I think a few of those linemen that they lost were probably just as big, if not bigger, losses in the quarterback. So as they try to piece together this situation and try to piece together their quarterback and their depth and all that, I'll be interested to see that game, because again, if Western wins that game, then I think everybody in some way, shape, or form is going to have to take the cat and mouse seriously, and because right now nobody does. I mean, that's reality. They're 3-0, and their best win was over VMI at home. And that's because VMI dropped a 2-point conversion that would have tied the game. So that's probably the game I'm looking at, probably the most outside of the UTC ETSU game, because I think there's a lot of intrigue in that.
All right, sounds good. Where can people get more of all of this great coverage of the Southern Conference? How can they follow you?
They can follow me on Twitter at Gene Henley 3. And then obviously, help us out, man. Print media is still trying to do its job, and timesfreepress.com, and I think I may be starting a podcast soon. I don't know. I think I may be drug into it. So I'll have more at some point if that actually comes about.
All right, sounds good, man. We'll talk to you next week, Gene. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, thanks for having me, man.
All right, that is Gene Henley from the Chattanooga Times Free Press, and that is going to put a wrap on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll just tell you that tomorrow, Western Carolina visits Furman. We have football here on campus, and I'm seeing a little bit of sun break through the clouds right now. Maybe that's a good omen. 2 o'clock kickoff, so the Berkshire Hathaway C-Dan Joyner countdown to kickoff will begin at 12:30. Fox Sports 1440, our flagship station, FurmanPaladins.com, TuneIn Radio, the Furman IMG channel, and the Campus FM's channel as well. And bring your radio to the game, and you can listen to the Campus FM in the stands at 95.9 and get the broadcast there. You folks have a great rest of your Friday. We will see you back here for some football on campus tomorrow. Until then, again, folks, go out and make a positive difference in somebody else's life. I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.